everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside of
Absolutely impossible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust, we've got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. It's season 40. It's F5. It's me and Hyperactive. Welcome in.
Welcome, everybody. It should be a banger. Though this may be considered the bottom of the litter amongst the streaming world, it's definitely not the bottom of the litter when it comes to action. It definitely should be jam-packed, and especially with a few names that I have seen dotted around in this server. This is not for the faint-hearted. This is going to be a squabble. It should be a fight, and definitely a championship going forward. And I tell you what a track to start things all off as well.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. Austria is an absolutely delightful circuit for commentary, racing, absolutely everything. And obviously, you've got 3 DRS zones, main overtaking zones, turn 1, turn 3, and turn number 4 and 5. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. The DRS trains as well. The new game is, I mean, very interesting when it comes to tyre wears and strategy. So we'll see what happens there as well. What's your thoughts on the new game? What are you thinking so far with racing?
In terms of racing, I think it's just as entertaining as everyone else. It does. There are, of course, those mechanical differences from the previous one. I haven't personally been able to deep dive in it too much. I'm here, there, and everywhere. So I am the wrong person to talk about the mechanics. But much like every F1, there always is going to be close racing, but it's more about which track you race on. And for me, I see Austria as DRS train. It is that style of track that, with the level of equalness between each driver, it really does feel that it becomes difficult to get past one another because the other drivers driving at the same pace, and especially when the train forms, it can become impossible, which is where the use of your ERS, the use of of using up your tires becomes tactical, becomes the point of the right place and the right time. So it should be interesting, is the simplest term to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. On this game as well, you've got different, tyre wear blows through the roof. And obviously in the DRS trains, the dirty air is absolutely clinical on this game and can really cause some big overheating in the engine. So yes, all coming into play. The calendar though, let's have a quick look at it for this. We have 12 rounds kickstarting in Austria. Then we go to Jeddah, then to Belgium, where we've got a break between the 24th and the 28th of July. Then we go to Imola in August. Then we go to Silverstone, Hungary, Bahrain, another break, Texas, Japan, Las Vegas, and to Brazil. So yes, it's going to be a very action-packed calendar. And let's see if we can try and rise to the top today. And at the moment, it's the first race. Everybody just getting settled in, back to PSGL. And expectations, Hyperactive yourself? What are you thinking?
Ooh, well, my expectations are always going to be high. I expect people to race hard, find the gaps, make those brilliant lunges, one for the entertainment of ourselves, but it's also to keep people on edge. But at the same time, you expect this mentality of, doing the right thing at the right time and not over-aggressing, particularly in that mid style of race. And I always called it the kind of like a three-stage race. You got your phase 1, which is your race start. This is where the action usually is. You got your phase 2, which is your pit stop phase, where you see a load of overtakes. And then you got phase 3, which is then the end of the race, the last 5 laps, where people do get aggressive. But the middle parts is where you have to be tactical. You've got to be saving up your ERS. You've got to be saving your tires, but staying close enough to mount those attacks for one of the other 2 key moments. So that's what I want to see from these guys. And this particular F5, these drivers are still established. They know what they need to do to be aggressive.
Absolutely. We'll have a quick look at the track map, then we'll get into qualifying in a few moments' time. But it is Austria. It's a fantastic track. You've got the main 3 DRS zones, and we've got 63.5 meters of elevation change, tricky traction zones at the likes of turn number 3 and on the exit of turn number 4. And it's going to be absolutely exciting to get into the action here at Austria. Hopefully many overtakes, and that DRS train will be crucial. And let's see what happens when we get into qualifying and lap times. What are we thinking? We had a little comparison with last season as well. I'm pretty sure we're expecting low 103s.
Yeah, low 103s is definitely in the right ballpark. I'm basing this off the quick search I did was F3. They were looking at 102.8. I don't feel we're going to get that low. So 103s, maybe 103.1 is probably the average time that we're going to see. But I wouldn't put it past. You know, there are a few names in here that I see and go, you know what? There's a high chance that they could go and do a major upset here. So, you know, JST is being one of them in that RB. He's a quick driver, entertaining amongst everyone else. Same with Jonah Martinez. Again, strong driver that has been known to put it down into those low numbers. And as well, Lewis Welch, a strong name to come out with swinging. But there's also a lot of unknowns. And that's what I really want to see, is these unknowns also take the stage by storm.
Absolutely. Let's see the rivalries rekindle, and let's see the fresh blood sinking in F5 today. And it's exciting to debut here in PSGL as well for my first common job. And it's going to be exciting to see who comes out in that top spot. But at the moment, cars just getting out on track. And it's a shame that still on the game you obviously have the cut-off name slightly, which is a bit of a shame from my perspective, as I don't know all the drivers, which is a bit of a pain, but we'll deal with it.
Yeah, it is what it is. We rock with it. We do what we can. But for those who are, you know, new to a Formula One, do you want a fun fact before we get somebody really starting a good lap?
Go on then.
Yeah, the fun fact, this beautiful track was built in 1969 and first had its first Grand Prix in 1996.
Ooh.
And it was won by Jacques Villeneuve.
That is a good fact of the day, folks. That is a good fact. Appreciation in the comments, of course. First laps of the day, and it's Lewis Jones on a lap time. I think it's Jones. I'm going to guess it's Jones, and if it's not, then please shout at me in the chat. But heading through Sector 1 on the exit of turn number 3 and on the route down to turn number 4, and heavy on the brakes. Down to 3rd gear and rolling it through the corner. Heavy on the power once again, as we head into the quick double left-hander of turn number 6 and turn number 7. As we head past the Sector 2 splits, it's a 44.005 in both sectors combined. As we head into the final dash around turn number 9 and turn number 10. Let's see what Lewis can do in the Haas as we fly around. Bit of curb on the inside, and that is a bit too deep. Bit of understeer and invalidation for the lap.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of oversteer as well. We're seeing onto the entry of the corner. The car rear end starts to flick out and wants to go into a complete another dimension. But I guess that's the way Jones likes to play with it, likes to have that rear end kicking out. It also might be perspective as well. But yeah, that understeer coming into the last section, into that turn 9, it's so easy and so common to just overstep it. So track limits is something we have to be mindful of as we do look at Alex as he starts to push it wide. He had a little bit more room to play with. Round the final turn, can he put it across the line? 103 is the deadline to go for. It's a 103.5. Not the strongest position, but up top, JST, I said off the get-go, is a man you have to keep an eye on. He's fun, quirky, and dangerous. 103.0, great benchmark.
Absolutely, very impressive to get down to the 103. Pretty much flat, but Nathan in the chat, remember, Jonah is a Ferrari engineer, and used to be in F2 and F3. So yeah, good to see him in this tier as well. See how he does, but it's not set the lap time first and foremost. But Lewis Welch is currently on his route down to turn number 4 in that scarlet red Ferrari. 103.0 to beat. Can Lewis contend with the top guys as we make our way around turn number 4, around turn number 5, and into turn number 6. And yeah, I'm just excited to get this qualifying done and get into the races. To be fair, it's one of the tracks where you don't exactly need to qualify high, but if you do qualify quite far back, a bit of a snap on the rears there. Someone's in the gravel. Was someone in the gravel there? I think it was. It was... Oh, someone's out.
It was the Red Bull. Yeah, it's Gnulika. Gnulika. I did put it in the chat for you guys to get the pronunciations out, and none of them responded. So this is on you for allowing a dyslexic not being able to say your name. Anyways, yeah, it looked like he just binned it, but put a little bit of a rear end on the exit of turn 7, and in doing so, when you do that, it just spins out and goes straight into the wall. So it's not uncommon, and it's quite easy to do. But yeah, that's his race done. That's his qualifying done and dusted.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think it's Gianluca. I think it is. That's my guess. Gianluca. I don't know. I feel like it just... Yeah, I don't know. Wish us luck. It's only the first round. We'll get it right. We promise. We'll get a few rounds going. Correct us as well.
By the end of the season, it will be perfect. It'll be nailed on their head. Exactly their names to the nth degree.
Absolutely. Oliver Knotts is coming across the line with the DRS wide open. And what's it going to be? It's going to be provisional pole for the McLaren. A 102.991 and flies to the top of the order on his first lap of the day. And I think he actually did set another lap before this, but I think it was invalid. But yes, good to see him getting a lap time in. And it's at the top of the times. Lewis Welch, P12.
Yeah. It's impressive, dropping under that 103. We saw the F3 drivers go and do a 102.8, and the fact we're already under that 103 mark, there is some little temps that all these drivers can find, and if Oliver can then just find a little bit more again, he's pushing into high territory. Meanwhile, JST, Dennis, and Lucas are looking at this time, seeing that the possibility to drop into the 102s is now possible. And that in your head is going to set your expectations to go, right, where can I make ground? Where was I losing that time? And what can I do to improve? So if that's the questions that are running through their head right now.
Absolutely. Everything up for grabs. It's only the first round, and let's set the benchmark. But that is a very impressive lap from Oliver Knotts. Up on provisional pole, 11 minutes on the clock. Geno in the kick Sauber on his route down past turn number 3. And I'm excited to see some maybe switchback type of action or a bit of DRS chicken down to turn number 3, then down to turn number 4 as well. And yes, let's see what the DRS trains are going to be like. If people are either going to be more conservative or aggressive, we'll have to find out when we get into the race in about 20 minutes time. But Geno 44.0 in that middle sector says it's purple. Is that true? As we head into the final sector, as for not bad a 0.0. It's I'm saying around you are challenging for top 5 here. Can Geno nail the final sector here? As we go around turn number 10 with the DRS wide open and to the line into P12 only and a 103.331 and puts it into P12.
Yeah, again, a lot of these cars are really experiencing the rear end kicking out here. You're seeing the steering wheel, they're trying to fight back to correct it. Unless you're Jonah, you know, we just saw how he calmly went through that corner without too much correction. But an experienced driver like Jonah Martinez should not be worried. It comes around that final corner, using all the curb possible. That's exactly what you want to see as he comes up to the line. Is it possible to put it near the top? It's a 103.0. It puts it close. And Jonah Martinez shows experience outweighs all that rookie experience.
Absolutely, and that's a mega lap time to put it into P2. And like you said, that experience shining through. And 9 minutes on the clock. Jonah Martins puts it about 100th behind Oliver Knotts on provisional pole. This could be a really close dash to the line on who can try and grab pole position today. A few drivers out there on their out laps with 9 minutes to go, mainly out there for their second runs. And yes, it's going to be interesting now and see what happens in the final stages. But it's going to be so close. Look how close it is already here with 9 minutes to go. 2 runs mainly for these drivers. And I think Jonah Martins also has done 2 runs, but invalidated the first run as well. But yeah, still. Never know. Long way to go in qualifying still. Anything can change. And Flo Denner in the kick Sauber, about to go on a lap here.
Yeah, the one thing comment I was going to make, but I'm now re-looking at the sky. I was going to say the session started really dark. And now it just feels like the game decided to add a little bit of sunshine. So that's going to factor into this track as well. We're going to start to see track evolution come through. The rubber, even though it is virtual rubber, it's being laid down. We're going to see the grip improve. And as I pointed out, the sun is coming out to play. So the track is warmer. It means the tires are heating up a lot quicker, gets grippier. We're not at any stage where we have to worry about overheating. That's not going to be a problem. But definitely, we're going to see those lap times ramp up, particularly come the final few seconds. But while Flo Dana is flowing through, knocking a 10th off his time, it will jump him up at the moment to P8. Maybe he could find himself into that P6 region. He needs a good final section to finish us off.
Oh, and that's exactly what you don't need. Took way too much curb down at turn number 10 and still has about 2/10 in it as Flo Denner in that final sector alone. And 7 minutes on the clock, still got time to make it right. But that could be a huge mistake there. JST's on lap in that middle sector, improving by 200th of a second. Is there anything left in this final sector as we throw it into the quick right-hand corners of turn number 9 into turn number 10. Really close to track limits on the exit. JST across the line. It's provisional pole for the Racing Bull of JST. It's a 1 minute 2.957 and flies above Oliver Knott onto that top position. And it's incredible lap so far. And still a few minutes to go, but JST sets the benchmark.
Knotts has just started his lap as well, so he's going to start his flyer and really lay down the mark. Now we're just seeing Dennis start, and then Jonah will be later on. So, right, I have to remember, ladies and gents, this is only the mid-section, so this is all for that provisional pole, but setting benchmarks like this will make it easier for you in the latter stages. Big question, when we get to the entry of turn 7, is Oliver Knotts in a position to reclaim pole position, push that car wide? It's a 10th quicker. We're looking to the 0.8, and with his lap time, and if we could find a little more, maybe the 0.7s.
This could be really, really impressive from Oliver Knott. Improving by nearly 2/10 of a second. He cuts as much as he can and cuts a bit too much. And Oliver Knott seemed to be back on provisional pole. And that could be a vital mistake for the McLaren, who now doesn't have that second lap time. He's still on that front row, but behind JST, as there goes Patrick Huber at the top of the times with a 1 minute 2.927. We'll look back to Jonah Martins, who's now 33,000th of a second improving, heading into the final sector. Can he knock Patrick off of that top spot? We've still got a few minutes to go, but can the Ferrari see himself on the top spot once again? Here we go.
Finds the line. Is there enough to put it in there? It does. 102.82. Huge jump up. And this opens the door and the question, well, if we're starting to see the 102.82s, then what's to say we can't get the 102.7s? Can we start touching into that territory? Is our top 5 going to consist of the 102 territory, as the rest of the field very, very spread out in the 130s, 103.0s and the 103.1s. So that's the question that lies now. So a lot of them going back into the pits will readjust, and then we'll have to look at where they can improve again.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody else is out there on a lap unless Lewis Welsh. Nope, it's coming to the pit lane. So yes, everybody else resetting their cars and getting ready for those final runs. But it's Jonah Martins on provisional pole by about 1/10 of a second. But we know some drivers like Oliver Knott has it in the locker to improve. And after that mistake at turn number 10, it might just throw away pole position for the McLaren. But still, 4 minutes on the clock. All drivers come into the pit lane, refueling them cars and getting ready to go for that one major flying lap for the final time in this first qualifying session of season 40. But at the moment, JST, Patrick Huber, Jonah Martins, our top 3 so far.
It should come down to a big shootout. There's still a couple of drivers that can make some upset. We can see down in 17th, George is one of them, Lewis as well, and the Haas in 19th, because they haven't set lap times. But the question you have to ask with these drivers, are they overdriving this car, that they're getting track limits left, right, and center? Or are they not up to pace? Are they overcorrecting for situations that don't need correcting? And that's always the question mark when you have a couple of drivers who haven't been able to set a lap. Is are they a top 5 or are they the bottom 10? Like, you don't know. So these wild cards are still in play, and it's something we will have to be mindful of.
Yes, absolutely. And the guys at the back at the moment, struggling to get within the track limits and a full lap in today. And yeah, this could be crucial now. This is one last lap push for Lewis Jones and George in the McLaren as well. And obviously Gianluca out of qualifying after that incident on the exit of turn number 8. I'm guessing might have just ran a bit too much over the curb and the rears must have snapped out. But everyone on their out laps, but we've still got Lewis flying on his major lap here. Major push lap, last final lap. And this is everything he's got now, surely, and needs to try and challenge for the top 10. Here's Lewis Jones.
Yeah, already the entry into the last corner was so conservative. He is wanting to put a time on the board. It's going to be a push, but it's not going to be over the top. As you push in a huge lockup, the car just slides into understeer. He's overdriving this car now and trying to make up for lost time that he had off the get-go. So I'm not expecting this to be high. This looks to be a 103.3 region at best.
Absolutely overdriving. You can see his frustration, and this is why it's crucial to get those banker laps in. It's a 43.9, so yeah, it could still maybe tot into the 0.2, 0.1s, and he's backed out of the lap time. So we'll have to look further up, and it's Patrick Huber on a lap time, improving by 300th in that first sector. And is this a lap to try and take pole position away from Jonah Martins at the top of the timed as we make our way around turn number 5? Flying into turn number 6 and past the split. Let's see if he's improving in this Williams, as it's only by 3,000th of a second. He needs a mega push in the final 2 main corners at turn number 9 and turn number 10. Is this a lap of the weekend for Patrick Huber as he touches the curb on the inside and now doesn't want to invalidate and doesn't pushes within the track limits, but is it enough to take any sort of pole position away? It's not. He improves by 300th of a second. Maybe that secured his position, but there's many people coming in behind.
Yeah, and you just saw Lucas just pushed himself up a little higher, I think, as well, because there's definitely been a shift in the board. We're just seeing Antonio also jump up in the Haas, but we have to look to the front. Jonah, he's already put down a benchmark that really can't be. It feels like it can't be beaten, but again, he's able to find more time. He's able to push more to the critical point. Really use the curb and then swing that car out as far as you can, and he still keeps it within track limits. Is there an improvement? It is an improvement. It's a 102.6 for Jonah.
Wow, that is truly unbelievable. 2 seconds clear at the top. Now the main man who might be able to beat him is Oliver Knott. He's getting a bit of a slipstream from his teammate as well on the route down to turn number 4. Can he snatch pole position away from the Ferrari? Let's see as we ride on board into turn number 6 and past the split. Is he improving by enough? Oliver Knott, we know he's got a few tenths in his locker. Is improving by just under 3 tenths of a second. This could be it. This could be pole position. Jonah Martins versus Oliver Knott. Now nail it through turn number 9. Now into turn number 10. It's been faced. It's been fast. And it's within the track limits. DRS to the line. He just misses out. He improves by 3 tenths. He goes onto the front row. But pole position, it goes to Jonah Martins with a 1:02.672. What a lap.
200ths of a second is the gap between Oliver Knott and Jonah Martins. It is super close, but you have to look. The top 6 able to find their way under the 102 mark. However, the split isn't bad. Like, I've seen some worse splits, particularly if you take from 3rd all the way down to, I would even put it down to the 16th, all condensed within with 2-3 tenths amongst each other. When it comes to race pace, I would say that should be a pretty even field. And if this is what the F5 grid is going to look like, I am not going to say no.
Oh, wow. This could be a mega season. Jonah Martins takes pole position for round number 1. And Oliver Knott just misses out by 200th of a second. Lucas Baesner takes P3. Patrick Huber in P4. JST takes P5 as everybody comes back into the pit lane. And we get ready for round number 1. But here we go then. Full qualifying. And Jonah Martins on pole position for round number 1. It's Oliver Knott in P2. Lucas Baesner in P3. Patrick Huber in P4. JST in P5. Dennis Langrock in P6. Antonio in P7. Dennis Kamensky, I'm going to say, in P8. Flo Denner in P9. Nick Arrow in P10. And George in P11, Geno in P12, Ionis in P13, Simon in P14, Triske in P15, Alex Santamaria, I think it is, if I remember correctly, in P16, Lewis Welch in P17, Lewis Jones in P18, and Gianluca, after that early incident, will start at the back of the grid. But there we go, qualifying over for, this amazing round 1, and I'm really excited to get into this race, to be honest.
Yeah, it should be an interesting layup. It should definitely have some twists and turns. But the big question is whether that's the first thing we have to look at. Have we got a dry race? It looks dry. So that's not going to affect too much. A lot of these drivers are going to probably look towards the soft medium strategy unless someone's going to tell me otherwise, that the hards are somewhat so viable in this game. Anybody? Nope. Okay, we're going to stick with the soft mediums. And realistically, at this distance as well, we're only doing, I think, 37 laps. 1 stop is all you need. Go about halfway through. So we're looking about 15 to probably the window being 14 to 18, 20 if you want to push. That's going to be your window where you want to pit. But as soon as the leader comes in, a lot of people come in anyway. I
think you'll be surprised on this game, to be honest. Tyre wear is going to be through the roof. I'm predicting a medium hard. I don't think we'll see the softs, but you'll see why. Because I'll tell you what, when these drivers push, those mediums will be toast after, I think, 8 laps. But let's see what happens. Anything's up for grabs. Is anyone going to try something unusual? We'll have to wait and see. But, for round 1, Austria, we could not ask for a better track to commentate on. And it's going to be a pleasure to go to when the silence breaks.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be a blast indeed. It is one of those, as we said, DRS trains is going to be the biggest problem that a lot of drivers have to adapt around and think about how they strategize around it. But again, I like to reiterate the point. When you're in this F5 position, though it feels quite high in comparison to your tier 1, the reality still stands that these guys are trained enough that they know what to do when they're behind another car, when they're stuck in a train. So they're not stressed. They know the outcome of this game. It's all about the when and wheres. You got to wait for the mistake, wait for a little snap of oversteer or a little kick in of understeer to go to your opponent ahead before you start draining that ERS and going for the attack. And that's what they should be looking for. And I would not be surprised if we see some absolute bonkers strats somewhere near the back. Lewis Walsh is one that I think I've seen him put on the hards and then got lucky with a safety car and put it to the front. I think if I remember rightly, that we're talking way back into like season 32 or something like that, somewhere in that region. We saw strategies like that come through. So that's something that the back markers could definitely look towards, is playing the ultimate wildcard.
Absolutely. 8 seasons later, let's see what happens today. But the stage is set. Those who dare are ready to rise, as here we go then for round number 1 as the silence breaks and the battle begins. Jonah Martins with a fantastic start, pulled across and covers off Oliver Knott, and in behind JSC, Patrick Huber going side by side on the exit of turn number 1. Dennis Langrock and Dennis Komeski going side by side. Antonio getting involved as he's going 3 wide in behind. I think that's Alex Santamaria going for a move down the inside, and look at that dive from the Mercedes as further through the pack. Dennis Komeski also making a move as we go on the route down to turn number 4. Nick Arrow also going for the move down the inside. Geno, Flo Denner, this car's absolutely everywhere. This could be chaos on the exit of turn number 5, but it's lap number 1. Jonah Martins gets away well. Down the inside goes Dennis Langrock at turn number 6. It's still side by side, but he just pulls ahead. It's lap 1. Jonah Martins, 5/10 clear. What a start.
Tell you what, that's pretty clean from a lot of these drivers. Not many of them over-aggressing. They pinpointed where they wanted to fight. We saw, of course, Dennis going aggressive. And just when I start to speak, guess what? We got a yellow flag out on track. Somebody has binned it. It looks to be Simon in that Williams. I feel it looks like front wing damage as well, as the back runners. They're the ones really fighting, putting the elbows out. Already we see the Alpine get a little squirmish from Nick Arrow. He's been in the battlefield here, and I tell you what, the cracking of sound and the roar of these engines are really bringing this alive.
Absolutely, it's still side by side between Ionis and Nick, but as we head down to turn number 4, who can come out on top? Who's latest on the brakes? It's still side by side, and on the exit, still pulling, trying to make the defensive move is Ionis, but Nick gets through and takes P15. But looking back to the front, it's been relatively clear in that top 10, and Jonah Martins, 4/10 clear at the top, 36 laps on the clock. He's on the harder compound of tyres, and we'll have to see what the tyre compound is for all the drivers when we go on to lap number 3. But Jonah Martins, Oliver Knott, Lucas Baesner, Patrick Huber, JSC, our top 5 so far, and Oliver Knott is closing quickly.
Yeah, it was no surprise when you're the driver ahead. Of course, 2 laps in, you get the advantage of DRS. And look, Oliver Knott, there might be an opportunity here to say, screw it, go for the attack. And that's looking to be what he wants to do. Little push and shove. And don't push too hard. Don't break that front wing. But now, if he wants to, and this is the key thing, if he wants to, he could look down the inside, go for the lunge. But really, why do it this early? Let's drain Jonah's tyres and let's force him to punch a hole through the air.
Absolutely. Got some moves further back. I think Lewis Welch just made a move on Nick as well. But yes, I think Oliver Knott just staying behind so far. He's only in lap number 3. Still a long way to go as Jonah Martins keeps that race lead currently here in the Styrian Hills. But this could be a fantastic race in that top 5. And who's going to be the first to strike? Who's going to be the first to try and make a move as we head onto lap number 4, and this could be an interesting one. But have a look at the tyres then. It's hards for the top 7. Geno's on the mediums, and so is Nick Arrow as we head onto lap number 4. Is on the route down to turn number 3. Is he going to make a move this time around? Lucas Bates is a bit closer, so he could try and put the pressure on, but Oliver Knott, yet again, is just going to stay behind and get that long slipstream. As further behind, though, there is side by side with Lucas Baesner and Patrick Huber, and there goes Lucas Baesner as he gets up to P3 and fending off now Patrick Huber on the route down to turn number 4, but the Abbey of Lucas Baesner is through and keeps P3.
Yeah, and you've got to imagine what Lucas has used in terms of his battery. How much did it take to just get past Patrick? So, yes, great. Now you put yourself in 3rd position. I always like to say 3rd is the best position you can be in the early stint of the race, because if a mistake happens ahead, you take advantage. However, if you don't have the battery to back you up, it's pointless. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing him maybe turn off the battery through these straights to try, through the corners to try and rebuild that charge, really bring it back up so we can have another opportunity to pounce later in the race. But again, we're seeing Oliver Knott. He's backing away. He's not wanting to over-aggress this early, and much like the top top 10 right now, they're not being overly aggressive. The only overtake we saw, of course, that was from Lucas, and it was tactical. It was done smoothly and not too aggressively.
Absolutely. And like you said, yeah, P3 is a great place to be in the early stages. You don't really want to be... I mean, Jonah Martins is probably in a good position in terms of dirty air as well. He's in that nice clean air, and it'll help his tyres that little bit more compared to the guys behind. But yeah, Oliver not playing the tactical game. He pulls back slightly in the middle sector and the final sector. So he's got a bit more of a gap to Jonah Martins. Lucas Baisner, but yeah, he's in a great position. And further back, I think that is Simon in the Williams going for a little spin at turn number 4 there.
That's the second time he's spun. He's in his own world, so not going to affect too much as long as he doesn't cause a safety car to come out. Because that the last time I checked the rulings, deliberately creating safety cars is very frowned upon, and so he's going to be doing his own thing at this point. When you're at the back, your focus is at this point, you can't do much. You pray and hope there's a good safety car. As we're seeing a very aggressive defense from Patrick. Has he run out of ERS? That's a question, but I tell you, he's got a little punchy as well. Dennis has to defend that inside line as he's got the other Dennis of the Mercedes trying to look away around the outside, but a big lockup from the Red Bull says, nope, you ain't coming through just yet.
Yeah, Dennis Langrock keeps the place down at turn number 4. But yeah, further up, I saw Patrick Huber just make a slight mistake. He ran slightly wide on the exit of turn number 1 and on the curb, and that really affected his exit. But I think a few of these drivers, you notice it on the route down to turn number 3, trying to get out of that dirty air. It really does overheat the engine when running it for so long, and that can really affect your overhead average speeds. And the average speeds around here is around 240 kilometers an hour in the race distance. And yeah, you never know what can happen in that dirty air. I think Oliver Knott might just be going for a move this time around. He's very, very close to the rear of Jonah Martins. Let's ride on board on the exit of turn number 1 as he gets the DRS wide open. He's already trying to get out of that dirty air, but I think he's staying behind yet again of Jonah Martins. Is further behind. No moves going so far within that top 10, and yeah, so far everyone just settling in. But Oliver Knott, yeah, I feel like he did look a bit close on the exit of turn number 1. If he does go for a move, it would be here, but no, stays behind yet again. Jonah Martins leads the race, and further behind, everyone's still running in this long DRS train.
Why would you want to make the overtake this early? I would, as I mentioned at the start of this race, you're looking at the phase 2. You're looking at that pit stop phase. When we start hitting that point, then 100%, Oliver will want to pounce. If he's got a race engineer, he'll be timing this, keeping an eye of who's popping into the pits for him, who's going to be the contender on those fresher tires as well. But that's if you got race engineer. Otherwise, yeah, you're kind of eyeballing it yourself, and Oliver's gonna be waiting patiently here, and it's tedious. This is a tedious stage of the race, and as much as we want to hype up the potential overtake, it's not going to happen, not until minimum lap 12.
Yes, absolutely. And these hard runners will go that extra long way. And it's all about now on this game. You've got to... Oh, it's further behind. I think Oliver Knott might have just made a slight mistake on traction on the exit of turn number 3. And now under pressure from Lucas Baisner, who's right behind, but has a slot in behind as well. Everyone's getting that a little bit closer up. And I think when you're running these trains for so long, it does become an option if you do want to try and make a move or not. Gianluca is making up place after a very poor qualifying, but still cannot make a move. I think Nick Arrow also flying up to P17, but stuck down 4 seconds behind the train with Flo Denner. But yeah, at the moment, 7 tenths between Oliver Knott and Jonah Martins. After that little bit of a wiggle on the exit of turn number 3 there, Lucas Baisner doesn't want that to happen too many times, as that could allow Jonah Martins just to be clear at the top. But yeah, now it's all about elongating the stint on the hards as much as possibly can, so you've got as much grip at the end of the race, because the mediums do die out pretty quickly. And let's see what Geno does as well, who is on the medium compound of tyres, and how early the Kicksauber does come into pit onto the set of hards till the end of the race. It's lap 9 out of 36, and at the moment everything just kind of settling down, and I think we'll be waiting for pit stops until anything major happens here.
We're too synced already. I was literally going to talk about Geno and this alternate strategy he was on. I promise we didn't pre-plan this. Geno's an interesting case because he's gone aggressive first, and realistically he has jumped up a good bunch of positions. He has found himself in P8, but this is the downfall now. He is going to have to pit a lot earlier than everyone else, because if he doesn't pit earlier, first of all, let's go for the beginning. Geno could try and extend, but his tires are going to fall off, and he's not going to be able to keep ahead. He's going to then create that 1 second gap, and once you build that 1 second gap, it is a nightmare from there onwards. So naturally, you pit earlier. Now he's on the hard tires. Yes, they're going to be fresh. Yes, he can start gaining early positions. The problem he will find from here onwards is, yes, he's going quick, but he's on hards. They aren't quick, not as quick as the mediums. So come the end of the race, he will be overtaken a lot easier. And again, that is going to be the problem we're going to find with Geno. But hats off. Great start, gaining early positions. He should be proud of himself in P8.
Yeah, absolutely. It was crucial to make up them places as early as you possibly can before everything settled down like it has now and getting into that top 10. But yes, at the moment, it's all eyes on when he does come into the pit lane. Obviously, the undercut will come into effect, but it also, we've got to think, if there was more people on the medium tyres, it'd make it even more interesting if Geno was the lead car on the mediums. But since he's pretty much the only one out there, as we will take a quick look at, everyone is now on the hards, apart from Nick Arrow, who did start on the mediums and has already stopped for the hards after a poor start and making a few moves. But yeah, it was quite an instant full first 10 laps for him. But yeah, Geno is the only one on the medium tyres now as we head on to lap number 11. But yes, it's now going to be the case of when he does come into the pit lane and how long those mediums last. Oliver Knott is still trying to get out of that dirty air on the route down to turn number 3, and you can just see all the cars scrambling away as much as they possibly can to cool down their engines, and that is why this game is just, I feel like it's so much more realistic, because in real life this would be the case. It would happen, engines overheating, so it's really good to see it implemented into a better, much better F125.
Yeah, and of course, rocking the championship livery, may we point out, well, the adaptation championship livery, as McLaren pointed out. I was a little disappointed when they released the identical livery with a splash of blue. Come on, boys. Your Monaco livery should have been what we had. But anyways, back to the race at hand. At this point, it is pure waiting. And we're going to sound like broken records because we need to see that safety car. But while we have that time, looking at the rear of the field, we've got a couple of penalties from track limits. Nick Arrow, 10-second time penalty we saw earlier for speeding in the pit lane. But he is so far out of contention. There's not really much here to say that he's going to come back from it. So... and that's something we've got to be mindful of is the little penalties that start to come through, the warnings that they're going to build up. And, you know, without the telemetry ahead of me to say who's got X amount of warnings, who's got that, you know, if you could keep it down to 0, brilliant. You could take some cheeky extensions in the latter end of the race and code brown for Oliver Knott. Definitely needs a change of underwear after that little oversteer.
Wow. That could have been the safety car there.
That could have been. Definitely spice things up. But as I was saying, like, not getting these warnings early allows you to be a little bit cheeky at the end of the race, being able to overextend into the exit of turn 9, maybe the exit of turn 10 if you want to try and gain a couple of tenths on your opponents. So there is a tactical game you can play with the track limits. It depends how much you're willing to risk it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll definitely come into play when we come across the line. For the checker, Geno's still out there on the medium. Oh, that's going very deep. And I think that's Antonio in P9. And yeah, might be under pressure from Alex Santamaria. But no, might have to just stay behind once again. As once again, these drivers just in this long DRS train. And now, yeah, it is just waiting for someone to, jump the gun really and come into the pit lane. But I think it will be Geno. Obviously, who comes in first on the mediums unless someone else is damage or a safety car comes out. And I think Geno probably will be hoping for a safety car because that would love his strategy option and that would definitely stir things up and Geno would be absolutely loving life on map number 13. As we will look back, as I think Nick Arrow is going for a move, as this is the battle for P17, but it is a little battle and I think John Lucas lets him through anyway. So any sort of battle he was hoping for is faded away.
Disappointing. I'll tell you what's impressive though, you know, as for the many years that I have done commentary for F1 esports as the first member goes into the pits, it will be Lewis Jones. I was going to say, we had not seen a second gap, and there had been no split between the front and the rear, and having 2 DRS trains. It was one big position, and now seeing it, people pitting starts to trigger a bit more aggression as we just see Geno lose a position, as George as well looking to go for the overtakes. He locks up deep into the corners, and that's Geno. Geno's out on the side.
And round at turn number 3, and that grip, is it a puncture? It's a puncture. It's a puncture for Geno. And it's disaster for the medium strategy after running fantastic race so far. It's the rear left and tyre wear is high. It's lap 14 out of 36. And look at that rear left. Absolutely destroyed. And Geno's race has just been unravelled and is surely over here at round 1. And that is the first puncture I have actually seen on this game. And it goes to Geno.
Yeah, that's not a stat he wants to see, as he is trying to keep this out the wall as much as possible, respecting that there is still a race at hand, so he just needs to be careful here, and also careful not to drive too much backwards, because that will guarantee a DQ. But the front, well, Geno out of the equation. Of course, George jumps up, Trixie jumps up, everyone jumps up. But we're seeing more aggression as Trixie loses a spot to Loners. And the front runners, well, they're still not triggering the aggression. I expected Oliver to go for an attack here.
Yeah, the front's been relatively calm, but I told you tyre was high, and I tell you what, Geno, that is a destroyed rear left. And I just want to say, it's very impressive, actually, to, just see... Oh, it's still in that DRS train when the tyres was in that, boundary of getting a puncture. Wasn't even dropping off, really. We're still in the 6th, 7th, 10th mark to the car in front. But obviously, the dirty air and pushing those tyres to the absolute limit. And, that is sadly race over for Geno, who I think he's still actually trying to make way back to the pit. Oh, he's stuck. He's stuck in the grass. He can't move. And that's Geno's race over. Surely retirement from Geno. And there we go, disqualified.
Yeah, DQ'd straight away. You couldn't do much, and yeah, even a lap down, it's near impossible. You can somewhat so work your way up through the grid and try and have an opportunity to get to unlap. Wait, are you kidding?
I think it's raining.
April. Yes, it is.
I see a bit of rain. Is that just me? No, it is raining. It is.
Oh my lord! And a few drivers at the back. So both the Hasses, the Mercedes, the Alpine, and the Red Bull have pitted already, but it's only spots at the moment. So we're going to see a little bit less grip, but it's not going to be too bad unless there was a problem, a bug where the grip would go before you see the rain. Has that unfolded? Because we've seen a 3-second gap from George now. Wow.
The race has just been absolutely unravelled. No wonder Geno was keeping it out on track for so long. And here we go. Yes, everybody in. Jonah Martins, Oliver Knott, race leaders in. Lucas Paisner stays out for another lap. It's intermediate tyres. And this has just thrown the race up in arms. And I'll tell you what, Jonah Martins now just needs to keep a level head, keep pushing out there. But intermediate conditions... And, it just explains... I was a bit confused why everyone started on the hards. I always thought medium hards was quicker on this game. And the better strategy to go for, as there is Patrick Huber nearly going for a move on Lucas Paisner down the inside. But, yes, normally on this game, it is a medium hards. But this explains the early hard strategy to keep it on track for the wet conditions. And now lap 17 out of 36, you can see them struggling for traction on the exit, and now Jonah Martins down in P7. This is unbelievable circumstances.
It is fantastic circumstances for some, but the question still lies, is this the right time to change to inters? Should you stay on the dries for one more lap? So this comes the gamble as we stick with Jonah Martins, and we still have, and it's fair play, Antonio in between the front two from the previous lap. And Antonio realistically needs to, he doesn't have to get out the way, but I'm sure Oliver is shouting, "Get out the way, boy." As Oliver's staying out, he's still going and committing to a dry strategy.
I think DRS is still enabled. It is still enabled, but Jonah Martins is gaining on the intermediate tyres to the car ahead. But I'll tell you what, is this just a short rain stint? Are we not going to see it go fully to inters? Because there's still a few drivers out there trying to push the luck on the hards, and that is Antonio bit of rears wobbling, but still, obviously, with that DRS, he's right on the back of Jonah Martins. Is he going to try and go for a move on the harder compounder tyres? This could throw the race up in arms. The race leader, well, net race leader, dropped back down behind Antonio on the harder compound. But here comes Jonah Martins once again. I think we're still in the crossover period. Keep it on the track, and you could still really gain on these harder compounder tyres. The top three still on hards, and at the moment, we've got to see what's going on track, because at the moment, yes, it is. Alex Santamaria has went for another set of hards.
That is absolutely nuts. And I'm just trying to keep an eye on the lap times, and now they're starting to go down. Now Lewis is losing to Antonio and to Jonah. It wasn't the 2.12.6s. Look at this. 11.8, 11.2, 11.4. It jumps up a little bit, but realistically, that has been going downhill now. It's nuts to see, and especially with the net rate out to the open.
Absolutely. Lewis Jones still out there and holding it on the harder compound tyres. Alex Santamaria pitted just before the rain, and he's still on the harder compounder tyres, but he's still doing a good job to stay right in the mix of this top three, apart from Lewis Jones, who's still out front but still yet to pit. And wow, 17 laps on the clock. Lewis Jones out front. Jonah Martins only 2.6 behind, and that shows the gain on the intermediate tyres. But I mean, how is he doing this, Alex? It's still the crossover period, it must be, or just slightly in favour of the Inters, because on the harder compounder tyres, he's still right in behind. I mean, crazy.
Especially when you factor in turbulence as well, and the degradation it's going to have, that is not going to help. The thing is though, he is still subject to the dry ruling. He has to pit again because he never touched the intermediates. So technically speaking, as much as we are saying, Alex, you're a genius, you're amazing, you're fabulous, he will get disqualified if he crosses the line.
Absolutely.
So this, as much as we will be like, wow, it's amazing, the DQ's coming in, and it's so disappointing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. 16 laps to go. And is it going to stop rain, or is it going to carry on like this till the end of the race? I mean, obviously, going on to the hards was, I mean, a push for Alex. But, I mean, if it does stop raining, he looks like a genius, because he'll gain enough to probably get that pit stop in hand. But yes, Jonah Martins still our race leader, but I think now it's starting to go mainly intermediate tyres. As you can see, the rear sliding out, the grip absolutely not in favour. And here comes Lucas Beisner past Alex Santamaria and flies through on the Inters. So now surely got to call it into the pit lane, and that is strategy over, and Alex's race and any sort of contention for points is now in the mud.
I've got a feeling that was him going onto the hards was a selection mistake. I think he had it, because when you pull it up on the side menu, you quickly flick it to Inters. He must have slipped an axe and he pushed it back to hards. So that's the only explanation I can think, unless he was playing the ultimate big brain game. But clearly the rain's just got heavier. We're having a typical 2025 race season. Think about how many wet races we've had in the actual F1. Yeah, I feel this is a true to home race, really.
Absolutely, always right in behind. Now, let's see what Oliver Knott goes for now, because obviously there's no DRS. So now there's no real reason to stay behind of getting dragged on our race. If you think you've got the pace, get through and push on. And I think that might just happen, but we'll have to see what Jonah and Oliver's pace is like. And now with no DRS, how everyone tries to stay together. And this could really affect the trains you had, because they've been diminished on that number 21. 15 laps to go, and Jonah Martins in the race lead. And now let's see what happens in these wet conditions, and if he can try and push away and win this race dominantly.
I'm going to call this a little early, but I feel that Oliver Knox has missed an opportunity here. He missed the opportunity to go fighting at that pit stop period, at the point where the little specks of rain was starting to show. You could still attack. He was still getting close. He was still able to put himself within 2/10, but he waited and hesitated before the pit stop. In my eyes, at that point, I want to take the lead of the race. I want to make sure I have track position, because when the rain gets heavier and DRS is disabled, it becomes near impossible to overtake because you're relying on that battery. You're relying on being able to have that little bit of extra power rather than the massive power of the DRS. So I feel there's a missed trick here. He's going to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. But I feel he's missed something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree there. I think there was a bit of hesitation, obviously, of when the rain was going to come. But obviously, I think there was a shot to make the move in the DRS train. He's still only 5 tenths behind. There's still definitely a shot in there. But in the turbulent air and following in the rain, I mean, the rain on this game is so much trickier to drive. It's really, really difficult compared to F1 24. And the grip out there is barely anything, even if it's just a spot of rain like today. And yes, this could throw anything into Jonah Martins' race, and I think Oliver Knott might just want to look at his mirrors because we've got a chasing Lucas Baesner, unless he can try and push on lap number 23 here.
And what will help, Baesner will know he's got a breath of fresh air. A 1.3 second gap behind him is Patrick. And we said earlier that Lucas getting aggressive, finding himself in that third position was... Well, I initially said it felt a little too early, but I understood why he's done it. And look, it's paid off dividend for him. He has now got himself in that prime position. He can sit back a little bit further back to save those inters, not be affected by the dirty air, keep those tires cool, and wait for Oliver to get desperate, to go for a lunge that shouldn't happen, and then he can pick up from the scraps. But this, again, we're lap 23 out of 36. I'm not expecting a true fight to come until lap 31. Once we get to lap 31, people will get more desperate and more aggressive off it.
Yeah, absolutely. Lucas Baesner has just dropped back, but Oliver Knott is absolutely pushed on. He's actually right on the rear of Jonah Martin. So has he just tried to use a bit of battery, or has he really tried to get confident in these conditions? Right in the rear, and we'll close up in this slipstream to Jonah, who's led all race long, and his qualifying lap was actually quicker than the F3 pole lap, which I've just seen in the chat from earlier. I mean, I didn't even realise that, but that pace must have been unbelievable. And I tell you what, it is so close on this grid state. It's a stat grid here in F5 for Premier Sim Gaming League, season number 40, and on the exit of turn number 3, has he got the traction to try and close in? 4 attempts, I think it's just a little bit too much on Jonah Martins on the route down to turn number 4.
The 2 attempts is where you need to be looking on the exit of turn 3 before you can even consider looking for an attack. 4 attempts, just too far away. I think you could make a dive bomb at 3 attempts dipping into the 2, but if you're anything above the 3.3 of a second, don't even bother. You're nowhere near. You're not going to make an attack and not going to do anything positive out of it. Meanwhile, as much as these two are putting the pedal to the metal, Lucas, who we said was in a prime position, is dropping back quite badly. He's found himself 1.2 briefly behind the leading 2. And as much as, you know, in the rain, it's not as bad. We respect that, you know, no DRS. It goes to show how much battery has been deployed by these two that Lucas is sitting there going, right, do I push now or do I save up and let these two fools make a mistake?
I think that'll be the game for Lucas Baesner in P3. He's got to hope for something to happen up ahead. And I think the struggle now for Oliver Knott is getting the better exit. Obviously, in the dirty air and the rain, it's not a great combo. Try and get a good exit on your rival, in this case, Jonah Martins. So yeah, I think in the long term, it's Oliver Knott who needs to just wait for a mistake from Jonah. And yes, let's see if he makes it, and let's see if Oliver Knott can try and make a move. He's been consistent within 5 tenths of a second on the last few laps. His confidence has boosted in these wetter conditions from the start of this stint, but so far, not close enough. And it's just the exit out of turn 1. It's kind of suffered. He's been better out of turn 1 since, from Jonah Martins, but it's just not been close enough from the final sector and from the lap before to gain. He's already just made a slight mistake at turn number 9. And he's now, I think he'll be too far behind either way, unless Jonah Martins makes a mistake at turn number 1 here.
Well, we've been focusing on the leading McLaren. If we drop it back down to P7, there's a lovely 5-second gap between George and JST. But critically amongst this battle, George is finding himself with a 3-second time penalty. So all this hard work he has built up is going to get pushed away and literally washed from under his feet. So this is where Lewis Walsh, well, actually, no, Lewis Walsh, he's fine. George will still get points, assuming he doesn't crash. And Lewis Walsh is going to sit there kicking himself for picking up a 3-second time penalty, because he's essentially gonna miss out on the opportunity of claiming P9 here. So, an unfortunate for the last remaining points, and you know, hats off to Dennis, hats off to Lonis, as they say thank you very much. We gained some much valuable points and jumped to my best position ever sim racing, which is P7.
Oh, let's see if he can try and grab it then for Dennis, as he's right on the ridge. You see his front wing camera. To Ionis, down in P8 at the moment, but yes, it will be P7 on the cards, and that's what they will be squabbling for. And still out front, the gap, 0.5 of a second, it won't be close enough to make a move unless there's a good exit out of turn number 1. Lucas Basner has caught back in slightly as well. But yes, these three still bunching up a little bit more. I think Dennis has not got the exit once again. He's lost a bit of time in the final sector. JST is right on the rear of Dennis Langrock. It's just under 4 attempts. Needs a great exit on at turn number 4. Slight uphill elevation change, and now downhill to turn number 4. Still not close enough. Everyone's struggling to try and get closer to make a move, as the exits in these wet conditions, slightly deep, and on the exit that's going to make Dennis Langrock just get a better exit there. But I thought for a second he was going to go to the gravel, but no, he's actually managed it quite well.
In Tokyo Drift style, literally slid across the track and kept it alive. I'm looking at the timing board, and as much as, naturally, as production, as commentary, we don't talk much of the drivers who are behind the top 10. But I do want to know, Alex down in P13 has been pushing Antonio around this track. Look at him, tooth and nail to the Haas in front of him. This is a battle for P12, so this is pride here. And the aggression we're seeing from the Mercedes is absolutely splendid. So we will be sticking to essentially a lower position battle, as I truly expect when we go up into turn 3, an overtake is guaranteed to happen as he closes up into the turn 1. A good exit here, and it's almost guaranteed to get the job done. Looks a little bit early, forces the Haas to go to the inside line. Now the Haas can't push to the outside, so round the outside is where the Mercedes will have to pin himself. Goes for that late lunge as the grip from the Haas is out of control. Forces the Mercedes to go absolute wide, but the acceleration from the Mercedes says thank you very much, the job is done. Or is it? Has the Haas got one last lunge to keep it on the inside? It's been sliding all over the road. Somehow he's been able to get it back. But you go into turn 6. We've seen many times when George Russell has gone down the inside, and much like his counterpart, the Mercedes, able to finally seal the deal.
Wow, well done to the pair for keeping that clean as well. In the wet conditions, I thought there could be a crash here. They've kept it clean from all the way from turn 3 down to turn 6. And mega move from Alex Santamaria, who had that extra pit stop as well, as he went to the hards a bit too early and had to pit that extra time for the mediums. But yeah, mega move up to P12. And I mean, you've got to fight for anything. Fight for glory and a bit of fun between the pair, and that was fantastic. And I thought for a second the Haas might go round at turn number 3. The rears was absolutely everywhere. But we run back up top. Still, everyone very close, but just nowhere near close enough to make a move so far. It's just the same narrative in these wet conditions. I'm just seeing JST's able to brake so late and actually managed to keep it clear compared to Dennis Langrock ahead. But obviously, Dennis Langrock slow in, fast out, and gets a bit better exit. But yeah, JST's carrying a lot of speed into turn number 4 there.
Yeah, he's a dive bomber, JST. He knows that when he commits, he commits. You go and look at probably any of the footage where JST is racing. I guarantee you, within probably the 3rd clip, or between 1 and 3 of the clips you watch, there's a dive bomb somewhere amongst the midst. So that is something that Dennis has to be mindful of. And if he knows JST in any capacity, he will know that if there is an opportunity, it will be taken. And I tell you what, 3 tenths behind, why not go for another push? waits patiently. Turn 1 is never an overtaking zone. But how about maybe a move up into turn 3?
There's JST. He's right on the rear. Can he get a good exit here? On Dennis Langrock up ahead. It's still very close. It's 3 and a bit tenths, but we'll have to quickly look back at Dennis Comexi and Ionis as well on the exit. It's Mercedes versus the customer team, Aston Martin, who also has that Mercedes engine in there. But as we go on the run down to turn number 4, looking to the outside line, trying to force a move or a mistake. And so far, Dennis Comexi has to just stay behind. But I'm sure the battle between these two is not over with 6 laps to go. It's these guys, and then I'd say JST, the closest people out on track, as Dennis Langrock begins to struggle a little bit more. 6 laps to go. Jonah Martins, Oliver Knott, Lucas Baisner, our top 3 so far, and they're just nowhere near close enough to make a move. And it's 5 tenths. You'd think, oh, it could be on, but no one's making a mistake, and that is just crucial to let Jonah Martins stay out front. Oliver Knott stay in P2. Lucas Baisner stay on that final podium place.
Yeah, Lonas did a fantastic job at being able to put his car in the right place, not allow the comeback from Dennis. And it's pinch perfect. Look to the outside. Nah, got it covered. We stay with JST. I feel like we're being teased.
We are.
When your partner kind of comes up to you, she flashes that cheeky smile, and you're going, dude, just do something with it. And that's exactly what's happening here. Is you're wanting something to happen, but they're not giving it to you in any shape or form. And you know, may that be your girl, boy, partner, whoever. You know what I'm on about.
Only the best commentary for F5. I'll tell you that for free. No one else is giving this thrilling content. I'll tell you that. But all race on, 5 laps to go. It has been fantastic. I've had a smile on my face all the way through, and at the moment, Dennis Langrock, JST closest out front. Patrick Huber still actually within a second of the front 3 as well, so probably trying to hope that something happens in the latter stages. But yeah, still relatively close in that top 6. I mean, nothing really separating them. All still within a second, but obviously that doesn't really matter when there's no DRS out there. But in the DRS train, not DRS train, in that little bit of a slipstream, dirty air type of train, it could really affect their exits and engine overheating. But JST, oh, he's still very close. He's just not close enough to make a lunge. He needs a good exit here. But I think Dennis Langrock, he's just got the exit of every corner, which just benefits. JST's got the entry, Dennis Langrock with the exit, and that just ends up in the same narrative over and over again, with Dennis just staying ahead. And I think that's just what's going to happen till the end, unless JST can pull off an amazing move.
It's late braking from JST that's getting him really close, and he keeps doing it. He just needs to brake normally. He needs to not go for the lunge, and maybe that opportunity opens up for himself to go for a better exit and gather that traction. But when you're in that kind of frustrated mindset where you're going attacking, you don't think logically. You don't think to yourself, oh, maybe I should back off maybe a little bit, try and work on that exit. And that's what's letting him down. And I know you brought lights to bring in Patrick in. Well, you have to remember, Patrick was 1.2 seconds behind Lucas. He's now within fighting chance as we quickly focus back to JST. This is the closest I think we've seen him, as he was almost shoving the Red Bull up the road. Now there's an opportunity. He could look for the lunge. He does look to the inside, but says, hang on a second. Remember what I saw before. Let's go for the second run down into turn 4. Still a good exit, but it's not going to be good enough as the gap still can't close the way he wants it.
I mean,
it's frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. You just set the words from my mouth there. I was about to say, it's so frustrating, this. But I think the best chance is for JST out of turn 1, because he's got very, very close. So I think you might want to just maybe try and charge up the battery and deploy it all down to turn number 3. And that could be the crucial area, because I feel like with the dirty air, he broke at the same place as Dennis Langrock into turn number 3, but the exit sliding all over the place for that V-carb. And this, it could be crucial, this. You never know what happens in the long term, and these points I mean, could absolutely come in favour when we get to the end of the season. So here we go. On the exit of turn number 10, he's taken an absolutely fantastic line as JST. Can he make a move up to turn number 1? I don't think we've seen many moves up to there. Or race even in the dry. As it's bit of contact between the pair. And it got very close there to being major contact and both out of the race. But can he get a better exit on the route down to turn number 3? Let's see if he can make a move. He's the closest this has ever been on the route down up to turn number 3. Down the inside, JST goes on that main Red Bull car on the exit. He needs the traction, but I think Dennis Langrock is once again just pulling away under the traction zone. And there goes Dennis Langrock, who keeps P5 once again.
I think definitely JST is going to be calling up the stewards. That pull back into turn 1 was early. It was a second defensive move that you could... You have to play the rule book to the T, and as somebody who is fantastic at the rule book, I know how to pull that one off, and I definitely could get a penalty towards Dennis, but I don't think a penalty might be needed, as already JST continues to stay close, and he's realized his best opportunity is through 9 and 10, and maybe pushing this into turn 1 is all of the knots. 3-second time penalty has thrown his race as we stay with JST, who had an opportunity to turn 1, was blocked here. Now gets a great lunge in. Can he get the exit? No, he still can't get that exit.
Yeah, too late on the brakes again. But I mean, that just might be where his setup lies. He looks really confident on the brakes, and it would really come into play if he just had a better exit out of turn 1, be confident on the brakes in turn number 3, unless he tries to get the better exit here at turn number 3 for turn number 4. But yet again, Dennis just has such a great exit, and the traction out of there is just fantastic, because I think Dennis Kamexki and Ionis are fighting once again. Dennis did get the move done, but Ionis is looking to fight back in the Aston Martin, looking to the inside line, forces Dennis to break that slight meter later, and does just stay ahead on the route down to turn number 6 and turn number 7.
Yeah, Ionis, he defended well once before, just couldn't get it the second defensive move, and that was brewing over time. But as we head to the final lap, the key storyline here, Jonah Martins has been gifted a pressure-free victory now. He can allow Oliver Knotts to overtake him if he dearly wanted to, because the 3-second time penalty will be affected. But we stay with JST, who tries that one last attempt. He's almost shoving, and oh no! All the hard work gets undone as well.
Oh, that is devastating for JST, who might just make the move, but I don't think it's going to matter. He's finally got a good exit, but still look at Dennis Langrock pull away under traction, and that has been the race story for the Red Bull and the RB as we go down to turn number 4. But we'll have to look back up front. Round number 1 of F5. PSGL is back for season 40. And I tell you what, it's been absolutely fantastic for Jonah Martins. He's shown every ounce of pace he possibly has. And when he heads through turn 9 and 10, on the edge of grip, every ounce of pace on show, every heartbeat on the line. As we head around turn number 9, Jonah Martins is going to head to the checkered flag, and he is going to win the Austrian Grand Prix in round number 1. He conquers the chaos, masters the moment, and stands tallest when it matters most. In a grid full of giants, he delivers under pressure and takes a victory that will echo through the season. He wins in PSGL F5.
The champion, a previous PSG champion, a WOR champion. He has won in his multiple tiers, gets himself back on the top step, and it's been a while. From my knowledge, it has been a hot minute since Jonah Martins has been at the top, and I'm sure if we spoke to him, he would be through the moon. But a gifted opportunity, Oliver Knotts, that critical track limits paying dividend. And we know how dangerous the Austrian track is for track limits. So to make that mistake critically, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you for tonight. And he's not going to sleep well.
Deep breath after that race. I mean, dry to wet, I did not expect that coming into this race. But I'm glad we had it, to be honest. It shook up the DRS train. it would have been interesting to see what happens with the DRS train in the final stint. But with the wets, we saw that extra bit of talent on show, and Jonah Martins comes across the line to take the first win of season 40 in F5. I mean, oh, hyperactive, mate. It's been a pleasure to be alongside yourself for round one. It's been very fun, and I cannot wipe a smile off my face because it's just been a great experience for my first round in PSGL.
Oh, it definitely was an interesting race. You know, we can sit here and say interesting, and I know a lot of the viewers are going to be at home, and especially the more casual viewers are going to be like, how is this interesting when there's no overtaking and no action? It's that mental game, and we saw the penalties start to come through. That's where the action truly comes through. I feel the inner autistic of me is coming out when I say about the small things. For note, everybody, I am autistic, so I'm allowed to joke. But yeah, it's those small mistakes, those small little moments that have made things unfold. And I'll bring up a point. Oliver Nuts, I feel he should have made that overtake at that pit stop phase. He should have taken advantage of it, and he may have gone ahead of Jonah Martins. If he then had the 3-second time penalty, he could try and create a gap, try and essentially put off Jonah's game and start taking control of the race. But it's very hard to create 3 seconds, let alone trying to create 3 seconds at all is really hard, especially when your competitors are so close. So fantastic job, and you know, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I absolutely did as well. And yeah, like you said, I mean, it might not seem interesting to you guys, but I tell you what, it is for me, and hyperactive as well, because I mean, that's the first race done for PSGL, and I mean, we love a bit of wet weather. I like, it's good experience seeing what happens when it goes dry to wet as well, and what goes through the drivers' minds. So we know what to expect maybe going forward, and that's maybe why we've seen the early signs. Maybe starting on the hards means it's going to rain a little later on, but I mean, we'll have to see what happens in the coming races. But quick reminder that I'm pretty sure every other tier will be live as well, with F2, F3, and I think F4 as well. I think F3 has just finished like us, but I think it's F4 and F2. I'm pretty sure, if I'm right saying.
Yeah, those are the two remaining streams. Of course, you're more than welcome to hop over, or if you are a loyal F5 fan, which, you know, thanks.
Should be anyway, should be.
It will be. They should be. We will, of course, be here next week. That will not change. I'm just having a, before we end, I'm just looking at the chats, looking at what's being said, and Oliver is kicking himself. The first words were, if I can just quickly find, actually it's not repeatable, but he's kicking himself.
Yeah,
massively from that race. That was P2 in the bag for him, and threw it in the end. Yeah, I cannot publicly say his words. It's there's a fine. Let's just say it's a fine.
It's a fine. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it as well. And
FIA on this, FIA on this.
Oh, yeah, I feel for him. I do feel for him. It's just not gone his way today. He definitely had the pace to take pole position as well. It was so close. If he got that second one in, I'd have loved to see him maybe push that a little bit more on the final lap, because I feel like he might have just held back slightly maybe to get that final run in. But yeah, the pressure might have been a bit higher on the final lap. But yeah, the race just unfolded, I think, when the wet came out, and he could have went for that move, but that 3 seconds just ended all hopes. But next week, I'm pretty sure it is Saudi Arabia, if I'm correct. We'll have a quick look at the calendar. I'll just recap myself. We'll have a look, as Jeddah is next, then Belgium, then we've got the first break of the season. So next week, Hyperactive, my friend, what we're thinking of Saudi Arabia.
Saudi, fast, furious, and we definitely need a couple of Oscar moves to start coming out to get the action coming through. But again, it's going to be a similar story. A lot of DRS trains that start to come through. However, the turn 27 is going to be a hot spot for some great DRS battling, and of course some great overtaking. So if you are looking for the fast and furious, we're going to the second fastest track on the circuit. I'm looking forward to it.
I am absolutely as well. It's going to be a great race in Jeddah. But today, that is us. Reminder to go watch the other guys as well out there racing in F2 and F4 as well. But yes, it's been a pleasure commentating my first PSGL race alongside yourself, Hyperactive. It's been absolutely fantastic. And any final words to the viewers to make sure to see us next week, I think? Absolutely. Right, folks.
Absolutely.
See you on the outro. See you next week. Go watch F2. Adios. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.